coming at you. Albert Breer just broke the report that the Patriots are open to trading Boutte for a 5th or 6th round pick. That is what they want. Quite honestly, it feels like a done deal. A.J. Brown is getting traded. There's probably a 90% chance it's the Patriots. Maybe some team like the Rams or Chiefs tries to come in over the top. But for right now, everyone seems to suggest the Patriots would be.
Something is brewing around the Browns right now, and it's not happening on the practice field. It's happening in front offices, in rumor mills, and in trade whispers that are starting to pick up real traction. While Cleveland fans are locked into OTA clips, quarterback debates, and wide receiver rotations, there's another storyline quietly building in the background, potential trade moves that could reshape the roster before training camp even arrives. And if even half of these rumors turn out to be true, the Browns' offense could look very different in a matter of weeks. The latest chatter centers around a familiar league storyline, teams trying to salvage value from young wide receivers who haven't fully broken out yet. One name popping up in these discussions is Kayshon Boutte. According to recent reporting, the Patriots could be hoping to moving him for a late-round pick, potentially a 5th or 6th rounder. That alone has been enough to spark speculation across the league. And naturally, Browns fans are paying attention because Cleveland has spent the entire offseason reshaping its wide receiver room. Boutte's situation in New England is pretty straightforward. He's shown flashes of ability over the last couple of seasons, posting modest production totals, including roughly 550 to 600 yards in back-to-back years and a handful of touchdowns. He's still only 24 years old, which matters in today's NFL, where teams constantly bet on upside over finished products. The Patriots, meanwhile, are reshaping their offense and adding veteran and developmental pieces at receiver, which makes Boutte somewhat expendable in their eyes.
He understands the terminology, he understands how the offense operates. He's done this, he gets first team reps. He's ready to go. We're confident enough in him to trade Kenny Pickett and make him the backup quarterback. We're confident enough to make him the starter, and then we'll trade Joe Flacco and just get him out of here anyway, because we're confident in what Dillon Gabriel can do.
Here's the thing though, just because a player is available doesn't mean every team should want him, and that's exactly where Cleveland finds itself in an interesting spot. The Browns have not ignored their wide receiver issues from last season. They attacked the position in the draft, brought in multiple young players, and reshaped the depth chart entirely. But even with those moves, the room is crowded, unproven, and still searching for identity. Jerry Jeudy sits at the top of the group as the most proven option, coming off a productive season where he cleared 1,200 receiving yards. Behind him, you've got a mix of young and developmental talent. Isaiah Bond brings elite speed and vertical ability. Cedric Tillman offers size and physicality. Rookie additions like Denzel Boston and Casey Concepcion add even more layers of unpredictability. It's a room full of different skill sets, but not necessarily a room with a defined hierarchy beyond the top 1 or 2 spots.
They have addressed this need in the offseason. They have not ignored it. They drafted 2 wide receivers. They brought in Tylan Wallace, more of a return game receiver, but he's on that run.
And that's where a player like Boutte becomes interesting. Not because he's a star, but because he's a known quantity in a room full of unknowns. But the Browns are not operating in a vacuum. Every roster decision has ripple effects. Adding another receiver means someone else loses snaps, targets, or possibly even a roster spot. That's why internal evaluations matter more than external rumors. If Cleveland already believes in the young group they've assembled, then a trade for a depth receiver like Boutte might not move the needle enough to justify the move. Still, there's a reason these rumors keep circulating. Here's the part nobody is talking about. The Browns' receiver room isn't just about talent, it's about fit, timing, and opportunity. A player can be good and still not fit the structure of what the offense is trying to build. That's why these trade conversations exist in the first place. Front offices aren't just collecting talent, they're trying to assemble pieces that actually work together in real game situations.
I do think Kayshon Boutte has shown talent and potential in this league at only 24 years old, but it would be tough for him to fit into the Browns wide receiver depth chart, okay? I don't know that Boutte fits when I look at the number of receivers on the roster all of a sudden.
The bigger debate is whether Cleveland should prioritize proven NFL production or continue developing raw upside. Boutte falls somewhere in the middle. He's not a breakout star, but he's also not a total unknown. He's shown enough to make teams wonder if a change of scenery could unlock more. That's the classic buy low profile teams love to gamble on. But the Browns also have internal options they already want to evaluate. Players like Bond bring elite speed that can stretch defenses vertically. Boston brings size and contested catchability that can change red zone dynamics. Jeudy remains the technician who can separate at all three levels. And then you've got developmental pieces like Concepcion who bring versatility and return value. So where exactly does Boutte fit? That's the question that makes this rumor complicated. One possible scenario being floated is a simple late-round pick swap. A 5th or 6th round pick is all it might take to get a deal done. That kind of trade is low risk in terms of draft capital, but it still requires roster space and offensive integration. The Browns would essentially be betting that Boutte can outperform one of their current depth receivers immediately. Another idea being tossed around is more aggressive but far more speculative, a player-for-player swap. Some have even suggested a scenario where Cleveland moves Cedric Tillman in exchange for Boutte plus a late pick. That type of deal would only make sense if the Browns believe Boutte offers a different skill set that better complements the offense. But that's where opinions start to split. Tillman is still viewed as a developmental piece with size and potential, while Boutte is more of a speed and separation receiver with limited consistency so far. Trading one unknown for another doesn't necessarily solve anything. It just changes the flavor of uncertainty. There's also the quarterback ripple effect in all of this. Cleveland is still shaping its offensive identity, and that includes how the passing game is structured. Whether it's Deshaun Watson or another quarterback rotation, the Browns are trying to simplify reads, create easy throws, and build rhythm-based offense concepts. That puts pressure on receivers to be in the right place at the right time, not just flash athletic traits. And that's where experience matters. Young receivers often struggle not because they lack talent, but because they lack consistency. Route discipline, timing, and chemistry with quarterbacks are everything in an offense still being installed. Adding another receiver into that mix can either accelerate development or create more confusion, depending on how it's handled. This is where young players usually make a mistake. They assume opportunity automatically equals production. In reality, opportunity only matters if the system is stable enough to support it. Cleveland is still working through that stability phase, which makes any new addition a strategic decision rather than just a talent acquisition. The Browns also have to think about long-term roster construction. Every receiver they add now impacts future decisions. Draft capital matters, developmental snaps matter, even practice reps matter when you're trying to build chemistry between a quarterback and his targets. So while the idea of acquiring a young, inexpensive receiver like Boutte sounds appealing on paper, the reality is much more layered. There's also the question of whether Cleveland even needs to make a move at all. The current receiver group already includes a wide range of archetypes. You've got speed threats, possession receivers, contested catch specialists, and route technicians. That diversity is actually a strength if it develops correctly. The key issue isn't talent distribution, it's execution and consistency. If Jerry Jeudy returns as the primary target and Bond develops into a legitimate deep threat, the Browns may already have the core they need. Add in Boston's size and red zone potential, and suddenly the room looks more balanced than it did a year ago. That's why internal developments might be more important than external additions right now. But the NFL is a league of constant adjustments. One injury, one breakout training camp performance, or one unexpected roster cut can shift priorities quickly. That's why teams like Cleveland stay alert during these rumor cycles. Even if they're not actively shopping for receivers, they're always evaluating value. The front office doesn't have to fall in love with Boutte to consider him. They just have to ask whether he's better than the last guy on the depth chart. That's how most late offseason moves happen. And that brings us to the bigger picture. The Browns are entering a critical evaluation phase across the entire roster. Quarterback questions still dominate headlines. Offensive identity is still being shaped. Defensive continuity is one of the few stable areas. But on offense, everything is still in motion. That means every rumor gets amplified because fans aren't just reacting to one potential move, they're trying to understand the direction of the entire team. If Cleveland makes a trade for a receiver like Boutte, it signals signals something specific, that the coaching staff wants more proven production and less developmental risk. If they pass, it signals confidence in the young group already in place. Either decision says something about how they view the present and future of the offense, and that's what makes this rumor worth watching. Not because Kayshon Boutte is a franchise-changing player, but because even small roster moves can reveal big organizational intentions. So the real question isn't whether the Browns should make a trade, it's whether they believe their current receiver room is ready to take the next step without outside help. And depending on how you answer that, you'll land on completely different expectations for what this offense can become in 2026.